Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, friends, we were studying about the Parinibbānasutta. Parinibbānasutta means teaching about Buddha's final days. When Buddha was going to pass away, there were some incidents and also some discussions in between Buddha and the monks. So we were studying that for 2 weeks. Now we have come to the next part of the sutta, and we spent entire day, last session to study about the perception of impermanence. Do you remember, friends who joined last week, how we studied about impermanence? What was the reason why Buddha shared about this impermanence meditation at this point? He mentioned a special reason why. For what reason? Like we were following some special points, Buddha clearing out one by one, saying that it leads to something. Yeah, it helps to spiritual growth if you meditate like this. And if you don't meditate this, it will lead to spiritual decline. That's what he was explaining one by one. And we studied about some of the external things out from our life, externally, that if we were to commit those things, it would lead in a way to spiritually decline. Though it has an enjoyment by doing those practices, but it could lead to spiritual decline. Can you name one? I'm asking just one. Yeah, having only sleep and enjoying in that would lead to spiritual decline because we miss us to meditate. We miss us the time to meditate. Because sleepiness alone can bring us a kind of an enjoyment, and then we won't do the meditations. Even though when we were to fall into sleep in the meditation, we would sleep. Because that's something we trained well. Yeah. I remember Enlightened Bhante say, the sleep is like a sport. Yeah. He taught it is like a sport. By doing a sport, we get an enjoyment, but we have some tiredness in body. I don't know, that's how I understood. But the Enlightened Bhante only says that this is like a sport. Do you have any thoughts about that? When we study a special fact in the teachings, we don't just take it to ourselves, but we reflect on that. We find what is the meaning of that. Okay, so when I thought about that, this came to my mind. Oh, probably because of this tiredness. Well, we can forget about the tiredness. But in the sleep, if he were to do more sleep, he won't support for any growth in his spiritual life. Okay? He was only a one. But we studied a few more like that. Last week, we studied this one. As long as the mendicants develop the perception of impermanence, they can expect growth, not decline. Practicing what? Impermanence meditation. What is impermanence means? Change. Very good. Arising, cessation, change. That is impermanence. Anyone can give any definition for this, but according to the teachings, definition is arising, passing, cessation, and change. If someone tells you like see the eye as impermanent, you see the arising and cessation and change of the eye. That's what you try to discover to understand the impermanence of the eye. That's how one let go the attachment to the eye. Okay? Today we study this one, not self. As long as the mendicants develop the perception of not self, they can expect growth, not decline. Okay? Does this scares you? Meditating on not self. What is not self? Now, even though the Buddha shared this teaching in a very simple way here, like just by saying practice meditation on not self, we can find the instruction in another sutta, in the Girimananda Sutta. He teach in that sutta, how do you do this meditation? Okay, let's see how the person does this meditation. And what is the perception of self, not self? What is perception means? Perception means a simple way to put what does that meaning by something is you are perceiving something. Yeah. In English, we can also say it is identifying something. Or we can also say we recognize something. Yeah, recognize something. Perception, the way that I perceive something. What? Yeah, it is the view. Yeah, it can be the view. Here, the Pali term is sanya. Sanya means recognition of, this is anatta sanya actually. It has the complete sentence, like this anatta sanya. It says, recognition of impersonality, perception of non-self, concept of no self. Okay? It's the way one perceives something. Now, he say, it is when a mendicant has gone to a wilderness or to the root of a tree or to an empty heart and reflects like this. So this person go to a peaceful place like this. Let's say this meditation hall is, well, it's kind of peaceful if we don't have that door. So yeah, there are peaceful places when we go under a tree or empty heart. So we go into that place. So mendicant means practitioner. Go to a wilderness. So he reflects like this. The eye and sights are not self. Ear and sounds are not self. Nose and smells are not self. Tongue and taste, not self. Body and touches, not self. Mind and ideas are not self. So this is how this practitioner reflect when that person go to the peaceful place. And what happens when you see like that? Let's take the first one, I and the sight. You see, I is not self. Sights are not self. Ear is not self. Sounds are not self. Nose, smells, taste, touches, taste, tongue taste, body touches, mind and ideas, not self. You are developing this perception in you. Now, in the teachings, it is understood that these things are not self, but because of our perception, we make it a self inside of our thinking. But originally, things are not self. Here, the not self means those are not under our control. Can we control our ear? Like eye, can we control the eye? Do we have the power to compel the eye? May the eye be like this forever. I means this eye. Can we? Like, may this eye be forever. Or may this eye be like this or like that. Can we control? According to this idea, it says that when you take something to be a self, you need the authority over that to control it, to force it, to do something, to do some kind of a wish that you have. Let's say we get an injury in our eye. With the support of our self-view, can we control that eye? Can we command the eye? No, I don't need the injury. Please remove. Please go away. Do we have such authority over the eye? What do we do normally if we have an injury in the eye? We go to the hospital and the doctor gives us prescription or do something like give us the medicine. Say that I say to the doctor, no, doctor, I can manage this. I will try to heal this by myself. No. But as long as we follow the medications, we would be able to cure the eye. Otherwise, we can't. Which means there need to be some necessary conditions to the eye. Otherwise, we won't be able to control the existence of the eye. Does this make sense? So the eye doesn't have self. Hold on. I is not self. Okay. Next, he says, you see the sights as also not self. So what are the sights? Screen. Humans, animals, like vehicles, buildings, trees, everything we see through the eye, sights. Also, some people are talking, some people meditating, some people fighting. We see that through our eye. Those are also sights. Can we control those sights we see according to our desire, our wish? May this sight be like this, not be like that? Can we have authority over the sights we see? What happened to the sights we saw for a long time in the past? Do we have those things right now? Can we bring all those things right now, the real nature, into this moment? No. So these sights are also not under the control of us. Those are changing. Okay? So this person develops this kind of a perception. When that person meditates, first, this is how that person does. He sits down and thinks, oh, my eye is not self. I don't have control over the eye. Sights are not self. I don't have control over the sights. Then, if that person were to train well, the next time when that person go, this person perceives I and the sights as not self. I can't control the eye. With that understanding, this person goes, I can't control the eye. I can't control the sights. Less problems, less distractions, like less anger, less greed, less delusion, less fear. We just observe the eye as it is, sights as it is. Okay. This is the place where Buddha explained about, like, logically, why is it is not self. Okay, this is another sutta. This is the Buddha's rational thinking. about this not self teaching, okay? If one says the I is self, that is not tenable. Buddha is the person said to be that, so there is everything conditioned and there is no self over our senses. So he brought up this discussion to the monks when he is teaching that. He said, this is why I'm saying that it is not self, which means this is the exact place we can study about this correctly. Because sometimes people think like contradictory way to the teachings and think like trying to pretend that they are not existing as a person. It doesn't say that person is not existing as a person, but there is, Buddha said there is only no self over the senses. Okay? If one says this I is a self, that is not tenable. Tenable means chakku attati yo vadeya tangna upapajjati. Not tenable. It is not acceptable to say the I is a self. Why? This is the reason. The arising and vanishing of the I is evident. There are evidence to show that the I is arising and it is vanishing. So it would follow that oneself arises and vanishes. That's why it is not acceptable to claim that the I is self. Hence, so the I is not self. This is it. This is the explanation about the not self. Okay? In the Vipassana meditations, we go and we sit down peacefully and we follow the exact teaching Buddha taught over and over again in our head to clear out this perception and to see just as it is, to penetrate to the knowledge. We see, we meditate to see the I is not self. Which means there are the reasons why the Buddha taught that it is not self. The arising and vanishing of the I is evident. Can we see arising and vanishing of the I? In a way we can see. Why? Because with the birth, we received the I. We have the I with the birth. But with the death, we leave the I. So there is an arising, there is a vanishing. So it is evident. Buddha says it is evident. If I were to say the I is a self, so what I lost is that the same self. I lost it over the time. Or we can't stop in one point and say, okay, only this place is self, the other places are not self. So we can't take only one part. Why? Because it's in a constant flux of change. There's an arising, there is a vanishing. So those 2 points are visible, evident. So if I were to say that it is a self, I would get this kind of an thinking, oh, what I owned is leaving me. That's why it is not acceptable to claim that the I is self. So we correct the view, correct the perception. Oh, so this means the I is not self. Okay? So whenever I changes, we feel so happy. Why? Because we are not struggling with this idea and wanting or desire to control it. Don't worry, nothing happens when you think this. Sometimes people think, oh, if I were to think this I is not self, what would happen to my I? No, nothing happened. It develops more confidence. It develops more courage, more fearlessness. It develops more power in you. So it doesn't bring us like trembling, scaring thoughts, anxieties. If the I were to injured, we don't say, okay, don't need doctors, don't need medicine because this is not self. It's not like that. We go for the necessary things, medications, because we were mindful. So it would follow that one's self arises and vanishes. That is why it is not acceptable to claim that the I is self. So the I is not self. This is very enlightening, very liberating when we think like this. Okay? And it also says that when we develop this perception, it brings like always mindfulness. Mindfulness will continue. We can live always mindfully when we develop this kind of a perception. And if anyone says the sights are self, that is not tenable. The arising and vanishing of sights is evident. So it would follow that one's self arises and vanishes. That is why it is not tenable to claim that sights are self. So the I is not self, sights are not self. Now again, he says the same thing, sights are not self. If one says that sights are self, that is not acceptable. Why? We say we see sudden movements in the sights we see every time, the things we see changing. Every time the things that we observe through our eyes are in the changing. The arising and vanishing of the sights is evident. So if one were to say that what I'm seeing is self, that they will see the self, that what I am perceiving is arising and vanishing, but it should not. Which means here Buddha say the self means it should be under the control. I mean, it should be able to, like the power of the self according to this is that it should have a power and authority to stop the change. But it's not possible. If there was a self, it should be possible. Would they say just leave that? Just leave that desire. What do you think? What creates this self-will? What is which kind of an mental force creates this kind of a view? According to the Dhamma knowledge, let's see. Our friends are learning Dhamma for a long time. Let's see who gives the correct answer for this. What created this self-will?
Attachment.
Not attachment. I mean, like I need the exact word. No. No. A mental force in us that creates this kind of a view. Sakkaya Ditthi means the view, which is being created by something. What? Atma Dushti is the Sakkaya Ditthi Sinhala version, like Sinhala translation. But there is a big power of like a force inside of us that keep creating this kind of a feeling continuously. And Buddha said that's what you need to eradicate. Okay, I made it very simple.
Craving and desire?
No. Ego is the self-will. Ignorance, in a way, it's correct, but it's not the right one. I'm missing here. Buddha say, okay, I'll give. Do you win or do you need more tries? Yeah, craving. Desire, tanha. Tanha is the creator of this will, self-will, tanha. As long as there is craving, tanha, desire, it creates the self-will. Through the craving, we try to possess something. When we possess it, we make the self-will. Oh, this is my dish. Possess will. We possess the will. Like through the craving, because I have this desire, this constant desire in me that creates the view of self. That's what doesn't shows us the arising and vanishing. Through the meditation, we bring mind to one point and then it shows us. Because we reduce the craving, it shows us how things are arising and how things are vanishing. Okay? So the self-view is a byproduct of the constant desire that we make. If we don't have desire for something, we don't conceive self there. Let's say there is a cake somewhere else. I haven't seen it. Nobody said about that. And I never tasted it. Somewhere. Like it's hidden. I didn't have my direct experience with that. Do I have craving for that? Do I take it as mine? No, because I don't know where is it. I don't take that as a self. But as soon as someone brings me this exact cake, so I taste it, now I create the desire, craving. Now I create, oh, this is my cake. This is self. But the cake cannot be compelled to be forever. It has an expiration, like expire date. So yeah, it has an arising and vanishing. So we try to see it very simple way, but it goes more details, like deeper into our existence. Through the meditation, it opens up very deep knowledge of constant changing. I just said that here, when we born, we got the eye, and when we die, we leave the eye. It's very clear one and a very simple one to understand. But what's going on in between is constantly changing. When we zoom out into the eye through the meditation with peace of mind, it's said that we start to see more details into the eye, that how it changes through the one-pointedness. You don't need to believe this or accept this or just take it because as it granted, but according to the teachings, this is open to investigation. So we go under the tree and we start to contemplate, oh, this eye has an arising, has an vanishing, so this eye is impermanent, it's changing, so it doesn't have a self. If we found out such a thing, that there is no self, you can accept that. Otherwise, you can let go. You don't need to carry this in your head. So something that offered you by force or something, you don't need to take it like that. But just allow yourself to get it through your direct experience. If that works, you can accept that. Otherwise, you can easily abandon that. This is a very good meditation to control the thoughts. An excellent meditation to control the thoughts in the meditations. Like, I will go to that part, mind and the ideas. It will make more sense. The mind is self. That is not tenable. If anyone were to say the mind is self, that is not tenable. Very difficult place to understand, like very difficult point here. When someone says, we can say the body is not self because we see the change. We are growing and we spend years and our bodies are decaying. We get illnesses and we see those illnesses are not under control. Some illnesses, I have seen people come to the blessings and they say that I have only this amount to live and I have this disease, this terrible disease. So only that they say it, but they can't control that illness that they have in their body because it's not self. So it should be able to control, like, may I not get this or that, but it is inside of the body. So we can see that changing and the not self nature of the body, but it's really hard to see the impermanence of the mind. Now here in Buddha's logical thinking, Buddha say, the mind is self, that is not tenable. The arising and vanishing of the mind is evident. So it would follow that one's self arises and vanishes. If I were to get the mind as a self, every time when I'm thinking mind as a self, it should remain according to my own self-view, my desire that this mind should be permanent, it should be like this. But no, the mind changes really fast. Buddha say, I give so many similes, but I can't give a simile to the mind. to understand its nature, which means we ourselves need to do this meditation to see it to ourselves. No one else can show us by a simile. Okay, mind is not yours, not self, so see it. Why it is not self? Because it arises and vanishes. Mind arises and vanishes. Sometimes we get angry. The other times mind is loving, kindful. Again, mind is loving, kindful. In the next second is angry. Again, we get fear and we get confidence, we get courage. We can't control the mind according to our desire. Buddha says to control your mind, let go the desire. Let go the craving, something that you are holding. This is self, this is permanent. That view need to be abandoned. Nothing happens, don't worry. The mind will touch us the freedom. So the mind is not self. If one says the ideas are self, that's not tenable. Why? The ideas are having arising and vanishing. The ideas come to the mind, has an arising and vanishing. If one were to say the ideas are self, I would get a kind of a feeling, oh, my ideas that I claim to be mine are arising and vanishing. They are changing. But it shouldn't change. The ideas shouldn't change. It should be solid forever, permanent forever, because those are mine. But we can't achieve that. It's not acceptable. So he says, let go the desire, craving that you are holding the ideas. Then you develop non-self. You perceive non-self over the thought. And then that's the freedom. The thought stays, but it doesn't harm you. When you think the thought is not self, thought stays, but it won't distract you. Because you have seen it rightly, in correct way. The thought is not self because it's arising and vanishing. Okay? That's how this person goes to the peaceful place and keep on meditating. See the entire senses and entire things outside, sense objects as not self. And that's the freedom. So everything changes. We constantly in mindfulness. Because we don't struggle with kind of mental force that continuously keep and latching into these objects of the senses or to internal senses continuously. We see freedom. We don't assume that these are self. It's said that if something enters through the senses, we keep, because of our thinking, papancha, because of our continuous thinking, we create that self-view back of the experience. It's not because that there was a self in those things, but we created that inside of our mind. It is a result of continuous thinking. We keep on thinking, self, 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 self. We make self. But the direct experience is direct experience. It's just a play of conditions. There is I, sight comes to the eye, consciousness arises, contact arises, feelings arises. Those are under the conditions. But we assumes there is a being who is controlling all these sensory experiences. And that is what we need to eradicate through the meditation. When we see I as it is, I as not self, all the mental thinking, like papancha, excessive thinking stops. So it's see only the direct experience. Okay? Yes?
First 5 sentences, I don't struggle, I have no problem.
Yes.
Comes to mind with thoughts, I get it. Concept that anything that is permanent or anything that is subject to change cannot be self.
Yes.
Okay, and anything that is me, myself, or mine cannot be self.
Yes.
Okay, but the fact that we're thinking this processing all this right now,
Yes.
there's an observer. So
Yes.
who is the observer? Because if
that's the mind consciousness. The observer is the mind consciousness. which means, let's say, the mind consciousness, which means, okay, let's take a simple example. Let's take first the something apparent. There is our eye. We see the sight of another person. So what happens here is that as soon as the lights reflects to the eye, so the consciousness arises. Consciousness is, for simple understanding, let's say the awareness. Awareness arises because of the eye and the sight. Otherwise, awareness does not arise regarding the eye. Let's say you are blind. There are thousands of sights, but you can't be aware about the sights, which means eye consciousness, like the consciousness does not arise in the eye because there is missing one thing. So the condition to the consciousness is the eye in that moment and the sight. Let's say we are in a world that there are no sights at all. Then awareness won't arise. Awareness won't arise. But to arise the awareness means consciousness, there should be two things, eye and the sight. Now, Buddha says the consciousness is always dependent, not free. It's not a free entity. It's a dependent factor. From what it is being dependent? Eye and the sight. As long as eye and the sight reach together, there will be the consciousness. Okay? There will be the consciousness. The same thing happens in entire senses. We have ear, we hear the sound. So ear consciousness arises because of the ear and the sound. When there's nose and the smell, nose consciousness arises. When there is tongue and the taste, tongue consciousness arises. When there is body and the touch, body consciousness arises. Now, carefully, when there is mind, when there is idea, mind consciousness arises. Mind awareness arises. When we say that it is the observer, that observer is not permanent. Why? Because it's dependent on the mind and the idea. As long as there is mind and the idea, we become aware about what is we are thinking. That's the people misunderstands the observer. Well, you can say it's the observer, but it's not permanent. Why? As soon as these two collapses, the observer goes. Let's say there is eye, we see the sight, then we become aware about what we see, and we see this and we aware about that. But as soon as eye changes, sight changes, our awareness won't stay forever there. Easy to understand. Let's say in my right side, there is a beautiful person. Let's say there is an angel, beautiful person. And in this side, let's say there is a dead body. Now I have my eye. Now my sight is the angel. Now I start to be aware. The awareness arises. Not I'm doing, but it's awareness arising because of the eye and the sight. The awareness of the angel. Okay? Now I start to feel feelings. What do we feel? Yeah, I feel happy because of this beautiful sight. Now, when I'm turning my eye to the dead body, my eye was changed, my sight was changed, consciousness constantly changed, all the way when I'm turning up onto this side. Now I see a dead body through my eye, through the consciousness, like with the support of the consciousness. Now what do I feel? I feel sad feeling. Now this entire process was changed. Eye was changing, sight was changing, consciousness was changing. Consciousness means the awareness was changed. Now this same thing happens in the mind. There is mind, there is the mental thought, the idea, and there will be the mind consciousness. And this process, like when there is mind and the idea and the mind consciousness, I start to feel whatever the idea has. Let's say I have like a happy idea, a thought, happy thought, I feel happiness. When there is like sad thought, I feel sadness. As long as this mind consciousness, that awareness is in between, I start to feel it. But that's only as long as the thought lasts. When thought changes, everything changes. Just one thing changes, everything changes. Everything actually in constant change because it's dependent. In the similes, it says that there is a person who kindle up a fire, taking two wooden sticks, and they produce the fire by rubbing these two each together, and then produce this fire. Then the fire is dependent on the two sticks. As long as these sticks are together, there will be fire. But if someone take it apart, the fire goes. But in the same time, fire is like changing, like it's burning the two sticks. Same way, when there's I, when there is sight, there arises the consciousness, but it's being changed, always dependent on the I and the sight.
And this, I mean, what if you became enlightened? So if you became enlightened, then your thoughts would no longer be.
Enlightenment is not a thought.
No, if you were enlightened and then you're in nirvana, and you still, I mean, you something is going. I mean,
no, you won't assume there is a being behind your experience, but you just see everything as it is. That thinking is what creates, like, it's not just thinking, it's prapancha, mental proliferation, which means I said it's thinking because easy to understand. It won't say that you don't think as an enlightened being. That exact word is actually papancha, mental proliferations, excessive, like too much thinking where it creates delusion. But that delusional thinking is empty in that person, enlightened person. That person doesn't assume there is a behind being who is controlling everything. But this person says, oh, there is I, there is sight, consciousness arises, but it's dependent, and contact arises, feelings arises, and then feeling ceases. As unenlightened beings, what we do, when feeling arises, we attach. Oh my I, oh my angel, oh my awareness, my contact, oh my feeling, this should be forever. I go somewhere else, but I'm thinking about this experience. And it's following me, chasing me, like attacking me over and over again. This is how we live in the present moment, when we see these things as it is. Otherwise, the memories, like the past, start to attack us.
Talks about the ideas, the dhamma, the thoughts. Where do they come? Is it because of attachment or ignorance?
Ideas come from? It's always something related to the sensory experience. Because Buddha say, if you were to say all, you can only say about eye and the sight, ear and the sound. Otherwise, there is none. Well, there can be images, visualizations in the mind. But here the idea means something that is related to the sensory experience. If I were to tell you, like I have an apple in my hand, so you need to create that thought with a memory, like kind of a understanding about an apple that you saw previously. So you create that relating to the sensory experience, something that you saw.
Or based on the memory.
Yes. That's not where we should go. We should go to the meditation to see the non-self. Okay? Because sometimes people ask me, where is the brain? What is the consciousness? Where is the heart? What is the heart? Where it stays? Where it lives? But Buddha said, you meditate like this, it will take you to the freedom, but we start to find out where all those things stays. Probably we won't get the answers completely, and without doing the meditations, we would die. If someone want to know where is the mind stays, they can find where is the mind stays in this sutta. It is where that our consciousness arises. Our mind stays else in our eye, or else in our ear, or in our nose, tongue, body, or mind. That's the only domain it can go. Otherwise, it won't go outside. Okay? Yes?
So it's like I and person
Yes.
and then connect.
Yeah.
When you have like maybe we all sometimes very repeat. Some people over many people, right? So that how that happens, that is we can see everybody, like for example,
Yes.
we have many people, but only like
Yeah.
people connect on the bond with one or two people.
Yes.
And then that connection just only on over the 10 people.
Yes. That much fast the mind. So awareness arises for everything, what we see. But normally, we register only one thing that we see. That's how the mind functions. But it's so fast that we can't find that this happens one by one by one. But it's going on an order. When we develop mindfulness, we zoom out to this process and we see that this works, this mind works like this continuously. But yeah, it is so much fast. That's why we feel like we see so many things.
Attention also change.
Yes. Perception, feelings. Yeah, feelings, perceptions, chetana, like our thing, like our karma, intentions, they too changes continuously. But everything under the conditions. Yeah, our choices, our feelings, our perception, they all are under the conditions.
When Bhante says this is a good meditation to control the thoughts,
I said because it's very clear to see the thoughts are in our mind, but it's losing ourselves. Like we can't control it. Like we see at some point, we see there are some thoughts. The other split second, we see the thought was gone, which means there wasn't any self over that thought. That's why it was gone. Otherwise, it should be there.
control the thoughts, meaning to be aware of the arising. That's because
Yeah. Developing that knowledge of arising and passing.
this is we can't non-self is we can't control, right? But then
Yeah. So then, how a person practice Dhamma if they don't have that control? Like let's say teaching says you get angry and you remove angry thought. How that person does that? If we can't control. Okay, just think there is angry thought. It says that in the teachings that you can control this angry thought, you can remove, and you can completely remove. That's how the teaching says. You can completely remove the angry thought. But how does this person does that? This person bring up the conditions necessary to neutralize the power of the angry thought. That's the only way. Otherwise, we can't command anger, go away. Simple. To ask, very simple. Anger, I don't need you, go away. Can we? No. It keep chasing us and attacking us and keep making even more angry thoughts. And say that I say to the mind, please don't bring me this angry thought. Which means we don't have self in that angry thought. So what we do, is that we realize, oh, this angry thought is inside of me, but it has an arising, it has an vanishing. If there is such a change, how can I take this angry thought as to be mine, to be myself? Then we let it go. This is how I think. When angry thought come to the mind, if I were to be like mindful, then I know there is angry thought. Otherwise, there are times that I get angry without knowing. But if I get angry when I was mindful, I think very simple, very easy. We think this is the angry thought. This has an arising. This has an vanishing. This has an arising. This has an vanishing. This doesn't have a self. This angry thought doesn't have a self. The tiredness loses, feels like kind of relax. In the first place, because we lack this understanding, we perceive, oh, my anger. Justice to the Bhante, justice to the Bhante. We start to justify that thought and we start to catch that thought with the self-view. And we are then the prey of the angry thought. We are slave of the angry thought. It carries everywhere it wants, and we are keep asking, like following the angry thought. But in the first place, if we were to recognize that, perceive that, oh, anger, not self, then we won't be a prey, but we still experience the feelings, sensations of the angry thought, but we remain calm. And we go and talk, what's the problem? If someone criticized me, I go and ask, what's the problem? But for that, I don't need the angry thought to ask, what's the problem? And when we see an angel, when we see the dead body, we think, this is the sight. This sight has an arising. This sight has an vanishing. In between, this sight is changing. This sight is not self. Very relaxing. Someone criticizes, it has an arising, it has an change, it has an vanishing. Sound is not self, so peaceful. Yeah. Door opened up continuously during the meditation. Sound has an arising, sound has an vanishing, sound has an change. It is not self. Then peacefully we can do meditation. Okay?
When you see an object, so I love that person sees that you're looking at her or him, but you're just blank. Maybe you don't know that I'm seeing Linda here.
Yes.
So Linda sees that if I'm looking at her.
Yes.
I believe. So where was the function?
I don't get it. What? Little more. Yeah.
Bhante, what she meant is sometimes we are like I'm seeing Bhante,
Yes.
Bhante is in front of me,
Yes.
but I'm blind, like in my
Like
mind.
zoning.
Oh, that's because loss of the manasikara, which means there should be the attention. Attention was lost. Probably we were trapped in a kind of a thought pattern in that moment. There is live eye, there are people outside, but we don't recognize, we don't know. This happens when we on the bus, like we see the place we need to get off. We were thinking about something in the office, like what something happened. And then we just missed the place we need to get off. But we had the eye. Our house was there, but we passed. Why? Our focus, our attention went to our thinking or to our song we are listening in that moment or something else like for sensation in the body. This is what happens in the meditation too. Loving, kindful thought is the idea. That's the meditation. Mind is your mind. You bring this idea and then consciousness arises. you keep on thinking over and over again. Now your focus, your attention is to your mind. You try to focus. You try to bring attention to your mind, to think this thought. Then it starts to bring you so much happy feelings because that's a good thought. Then you lost connection with the body because your attention is focused to your mind. You lost the connection of the sounds. You don't be hurt by the sound during the meditation. You won't be distracted by the place like smells or whatever outside. This is what we do in the meditation. We try our best to bring the attention. We create more power on our attention. Now you're listening, you're looking at me. Now you're looking at me, your attention is to your eye. But do you know how your body is here now? Without thinking? Without thinking? You don't know how your body is here. Yeah. Attention is this power that sends our consciousness. So consciousness has wheels. If consciousness has wheels are the attention. It takes everywhere the attention. Right?
So who is comprehending or not comprehending this conversation right inside?
What? I don't get.
Who is comprehending?
Why?
Just back to the.
It's still, that is still conditions. That is still conditions. I mean, that is still, that is your mind and your ideas, and that creates the awareness, and that creates the contact, and you keep on thinking. Sorry?
Still not self.
No. Mind is an illusion. In the teachings, Buddha say, if you need to get something as a mind, you take only five, like only nama rupa, like mentality and materiality. You can take these sets. You can take a feeling as the mind. You can take the perception as the mind. You can take the contact as the mind. You can take the thought as the mind. You can take the aggregates, the material form as the mind. That's what the brain, like sometimes people explain the mind as brain. They take the four aggregates, four elements as the brain. That's the materiality as the brain some people take. That's it. But they don't see the other functions of the consciousness, feelings, perception, so on. Yeah, that's limits. But yeah, there is always these like components that assumes us this is the mind, but mind originally is a delusion, like illusion, not delusion, illusion. Is a magician. Is a very deep topic. Let's talk about that later. According to teaching, I cannot give all the answers for your questions. What? Yes.
Like we have those conditions.
Yes.
Come together.
Yes. Yes.
You're mindful and you know what's happening.
Yes.
with your hand,
Yes.
body.
Yes.
But that's not fire.
Yes.
Trying to
Yes.
feel your body.
Yes.
So
I don't get the entire question, like all the information. Can you clarify a little bit more? Yes, yes. Correct, yeah.
in
Yes.
up.
Yes.
You. It
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
if you try and try to feel
Yes. Yeah.
body,
Yes. Yeah.
it's like mindful, you're mindful that you're like the water
Body? No. we become mindful about the breathing at the moment. But if we were to think about the body and the relaxations that we receive, our attention breaks and it goes back to the body consciousness. So it breaks and collapses the meditation. Okay. Even during the meditation, if you were to get some sensations, that's because your mind is in two things, like your body and your breath, body and breath. Yeah. Let's share the merits we accumulated. By the power of these, all the merits, by studying the Dhamma, may we have the great opportunity to attain the perfect bliss of our mind. Nibbana sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.